Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randy Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
It's Friday, you bastards. Hey, everybody, bounce your boobies. All right. All right. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. 8 segments to beer. Oh, I can't wait. I earned it. I have earned the beer. For those of you who are Twittering me, tweeting me, messaging me, Facebooking me, Instagramming me, Snapchatting me, can I not take a day off to tend to my bunda? Can I not?
I mean, really?
Honest to God, man. I'm jonesing without you. I'm going crazy. Randy, where are you? Where are you? Where are... All caps. Where are... Oh, my God. And I'm laying in the outpatient center waiting for six feet of tubing to go right up the bunda. 6 feet of tubing. And I'm getting recognized. Oh, my God. This is very... Listen, you know, I've been doing this a hell of a long time. It's this video thing. It's the video thing. Oh, my God. I miss terrestrial radio only in this way. It was just on the radio. Nobody had any commentary about what I look like. You had these fantasies in your head, and everybody decided that I was a very big-boned, dark-haired woman. Which is totally untrue. I'm a petite little blonde that is, in fabulous shape, especially for my age. But, it was just so amazing. So here's the guy setting up the IV yesterday, right? The little IV, because they're going to put you out, baby. You know why? Because you got the Obamacare. And they can. And they can. Otherwise, you know what the prep for colonoscopy is, most people do. But if you can't afford your medication, do you know what you have to do to prepare for the colonoscopy if you can't afford the real prep? X-Lax, baby. Tons and I swear to God, they give you 2 sheets of paper telling you how to prepare, and one involves milk and magnesia on the second day before your procedure, and then the next day, like OD on X-Lax. Swear to God. And then, if you can't afford your medication, you get the real prep, which is nasty, nasty, nasty. But you just, boom, explode, and you're pretty much done. TMI, well, welcome to aging. Too bad. And then you go into the place, and they stick the IV in because they've checked your insurance, and they go, oh, she's got the good stuff. Put her out. Put her out of her misery. So the guy who's setting up the IV, friendly enough guy, said he was an ex-Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 2. And then cross-trained into the medical field. And he said, I know who you are. Creeped me out. Creep me out, baby. Creep me out. And as soon as he said, because I'm in there with my legal last name, which is not Rhodes. I mean, everybody knows that's not my real name. I named myself after Ozzy's guitar player. So spare me the stupid jokes I've been hearing since 1984. Jesus. So, he goes, I know who you are. I know who you are. And then the guy next door who's taking care of some elderly patient, and we're all in there for colonoscopies, just a big, giant outpatient center full of assholes. And I hear this guy go, oh, no, is that really Randy Rhodes? I have to say, he comes in, he goes, are you dressed? I go, I'm wearing my hospital gown. Like, come on, please, leave me alone. And he comes in and he goes, listen, it's my son's birthday, and he would be so excited if I told him that I met you, and please, can I just have your autograph? I'm like, okay. Then you move from the prep part and you go into the actual room, where the procedure is going to be done, where the tubing is. And I'm laying there and I'm like, thank God I got this IV thing in my hand because I know they're going to put me out. This ain't going to be no twilight sleep, but I'm not going to be awake. I won't know anything. This will be good. This will be great. Oh, I can't wait. And all of a sudden, the staff, which was all, women in their 40s, all of them, start talking about, well, we hear that you're kind of a famous person, so what do? I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. It's Florida. I don't want to tell anybody what I do. I just please, just put me out. I'd rather not tell you that I do politics. This what? Oh my God! And then she goes, well, I hear that you're on the radio and stuff, and that you've been. So Alan Combs died. Alan Combs died. Did you know him? I said, yes, he was a very dear friend of mine, and blah blah blah. Yeah, I saw it on Sean's show. Didn't he used to have a show with Sean? I'm like, oh dear God, I'm going to die. These are the, these are the women that voted for the Trumpster. These are the Trumpanzees. I don't want to talk about it. And then the anesthesiologist leans in leans in, and she whispers to me, "Don't worry, I'm a liberal. Everyone else in here, they're all like that. But I'm with you. I know who you are. You're in good hands. Go to sleep." I'm like, oh, crap. It's so serious out here. I can't even tell you. It's just so freaking serious. Then you wake up, right? You go to sleep. It's like, you can feel the propofol, and it's like, oh, here. Oh, okay. Bye-bye. And then you wake up, and it's over, and it's like the most relieving experience. Oh, it's just like, woo, it's over. It's over. And then my doctor, she's such a sweet little girl. She's a tiny, teeny, tiny, with an unpronounceable last name that I bothered to learn how to say. And wish her a good morning, because it's like 7:30 in the morning. Of course, after the probing, it's like 10:30. That's how long it took to probe. That's how complicated the case my asshole is. I was probed from both ends. So anyway, so she says to me, "Listen, I really hate to bother you. I'll tell you, what we found and what we did. And I think you're okay. You're okay. But listen, Bill really wants to meet you. He's a wonderful man. He works with us in the group. And he's just, of everybody, he's the biggest fan. Can you please meet Bill?" I go, "Sure, because who doesn't want to meet their fans after a colonoscopy? I mean, who would say no to such an offer? Who would say?" So I said to her, "How's my hair?" And she goes, "You are the most delightful patient. Bill, come on in. She's awake." And, I hop out of the bed and I hug Bill. I actually hug Bill. And he goes, "Oh, my God." He goes, "Thanks for all you do." And I said, do, and we're making jokes there. But, yeah, so this was my experience. And everybody's torn apart. Nobody can talk to anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, half the staff was on my side. The doctors were on my side. The techs were not on my side. Isn't it interesting? The people that actually, know the joys of Obamacare and understand, hey, we could put her out of her misery. We could actually give her something to put her to sleep for a couple hours. They're on my side. And the techs are, "Oh, I watched Sean. Tell me about Rush. What was he like?" Oh, my God. It's just freaking. But anyway, and then in the meantime, so then I go and I check my phone once I'm dressed and I'm out the door. I'm in the car. And Howard's driving me home. And I go, "I'm so hungry," because you can't eat for 2 days. So I said, "Could you? I can't sit up in Denny's. I can't. I couldn't possibly make it through a whole." He said, "I'll make you breakfast." So he took me home and he made a cheese omelet, and they tell you no greasy food, so I had 9 sausages. I did. I had a whole pack of, what was it, Jimmy Dean, the links. And so I'm checking my phone, and people are texting me too. "Where are you? I'm like, please. This is nice. It's very, very nice. But for this amount of disturbance in my life, I should have 1 million followers, okay? 1 million. So, work on that, people. Just go to work on that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Really, I mean, I can't just, be in a hospital gown, just doing some, look, I told you, the endoscopy goes through one end. They put a thing in your mouth. I mean, it's like an S&M film. I mean, if you're into that, this is really the procedure you want. Truly it is, because there's tubes from this end, and then from this end is this big plastic thing that they, and they put everything, right where it needs to go before they put you to sleep, so they don't have to move you around too much. It's just amazing. So, if that's your thing, if you know what kink.com is, oh, you want these procedures, you'd love them. You would. They're really, just wow. So, but anyway, leave me alone, okay? Next time I take a day off, just be very clear that I'm having diagnostic and, well, I have to say it's preventative, right? It's preventative, because if it's preventative, then Obamacare covers it. Well, until, Trump just dismantles it. And then if it's diagnostic, it doesn't. So, you got to be nice to your provider so that they know exactly what code to code. Otherwise, you're going to have like a $295 copay. And that's while you have health insurance. So enjoy it while you can, everybody. Enjoy it. But anyway, I think, my bunda seems to be fine, in case you were, really inquiring within. My bunda is fine. Everything looks good. Nothing to see here. Move along. But apparently, coming back to work after my beautiful retirement in Costa Rica, coming back to work has given me an ulcer. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for that. Isn't that special? I have an ulcer. All because of you. And for this, I need 1 million followers. So I'm not going to, as long as I have the ulcer, I guess I'll keep going until it actually starts bleeding and hemorrhaging and, gets real mucusy and gooey and pussy. So there you have it. There you have it. And so why don't you break me? It's like 20 after. And then, yeah, you forgot. And then, we'll come back and we'll get into, why I'm always freaking right. Didn't I tell you that if you're lobbying for a foreign country, you have to register as a foreign lobbyist? Didn't I tell you that? And didn't I tell you that these people, especially Manafort, right? Now we know General Flynn too, but wait, there's more dots to connect. It's going to freak you out. Freak you out. General Flynn was apparently lobbying for Turkey. He got fired because he had contacts with Russians and lied about that. Now we find out not only was he contacting the Russians and lying about it to Mike Pence and, of course, to Donald Trump, who knows nothing. Nothing, I see nothing. But turns out he was lobbying on behalf of the Erdogan, Islamic extremist government in Turkey now, and failed to register himself as a foreign agent, which I told you is a felony if you just don't do that. And he's saying, well, I got bad legal advice. So here's some legal advice. For $7.95 a month, you could have known you needed to register. Or $72 a year, you could have listened to my podcast and you would have known you had to register as a foreign agent. Thank you. My job is done.
Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Buy a stinking podcast. Now that Trump's moved into the White House, I know. You could see he wasted no time. He went to work for his ultra-wealthy pals. He's making fundamental economic changes that are going to affect your money and your retirement. He's chipping away at banking regulations. He's going after Dodd-Frank, and that unwinds the fiduciary rule. That's a rule that keeps your money safe from deceptive financial practices. Like I said before, this administration is so awful. They are so greedy. And that's why now, more than ever, is the best time to diversify your retirement portfolio like I did. Gold's low correlation with stocks and bonds can help you in times of uncertainty. Call my friends at ITM Trading. Get a free gold kit. Learn why gold survives every government, every currency, every economic crisis. Call ITM today at 1-888-OWN-GOLD for guidance from their precious metals experts. They've helped thousands of people just like me buy gold and silver coins and bars, and they can help you too. 1-888-OWN-GOLD. Call 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1925. That was the day the first civil lawsuit for damages was filed on behalf of the Radium Girls. During the 1910s and 20s, radium was all the rage. It was considered a medical cure-all for everything from blindness to asthma. The U.S. Radium Corporation employed hundreds of young women in New Jersey and Illinois to paint radium onto watch dials and military instruments. Women workers were instructed to shape the paintbrushes to a fine point with their lips in order to paint the numbers onto the watch faces. They soon fell ill. Many complained of losing scores of teeth and shattered and rotting jaws. The death toll began to rise. U.S. Radium and other related companies initially tried to smear the women as suffering from syphilis. Catherine Wiley of the New Jersey Consumers League began investigating the use of radium by dial painters. She was also concerned about how emissions affected the community surrounding the plant. Wiley enlisted the help of Alice Hamilton, mother of industrial medicine and occupational toxicology. The chief medical examiner of Essex County determined the women suffered from radium exposure. They were exhaling radon gas. The findings were earth-shattering for the industry. Case proceedings were highly publicized in the press. Extremely frail and sick young women appeared in court, barely able to walk or testify. The company agreed to settle the case. $10,000 for each woman, a $400 a year pension, and medical care. Women at the Ottawa plant suffered for years before finally learning the truth about their job-related illnesses. The case impacted fields related to occupational safety and health. It also fundamentally broadened scientific understanding of radioactive elements. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Here, watch this.
Remember General Michael Flynn?
Uh-huh.
General Michael Flynn was a foreign agent. The president's first national security advisor who lied to the vice president about his conversations with Russian leaders and was forced to resign after 24 days on the job was also working to help the Turkish leader as a lobbyist during the U.S. presidential campaign. Michael Flynn now admits he was working to help Recep Erdogan, the authoritarian Turkish president, during the run-up to the United States election. Got $500,000, while, among other things, writing an op-ed for The Hill saying how great Erdogan was and how awful a Turkish dissident was, backed by the United States. And he did that while we were deciding who would be our next president. And while he, the former Army Lieutenant General and intelligence chief, was on the campaign trail with Donald Trump, complaining about pay for play, as he was paid to play by a businessman in support of the Turkish leader whose voting base is Islamic voters.
Lock her up. That's right. Yes, that's right. Lock her up.
He chanted about Hillary Clinton. Lock her up. Before he was on the Trump transition team and before he became the national security advisor.
Jeez.
Mike Flynn registered as a foreign agent, not before he became one last year, but night before last, retroactively. And now the man who paid him is actually asking for his $500,000 back.
Wow. That is quite a story. And I told you, if you're going to lobby for a foreign government, you have to register as a foreign agent. So it seems to me that Michael Flynn is on the list of people who are being investigated by the Department of Justice. Well, not the Department of Justice, because we don't have one. Because Jeff Sessions recused himself from all things Trumpian, all things Russian, all things, foreign, right? So he can't investigate anything to do with the campaign. So it's all being done by the FBI, James Comey, which is inside the Justice Department, but not the head of the Justice Department because he's recused himself. So on our list of people who are being investigated is Roger Stone, Carter Page, Michael Cohen, the lawyer to Donald Trump, who, owns a business in Ukraine, Paul Manafort, who was a lobbyist for Ukraine, and various other, dictators around the world over the years, and Jeff Sessions, of course, and Michael Flynn. They're all on the list. My best guess is Michael Flynn is singing like a jaybird and that he's made a deal with Comey. And the deal looks something like this. Register now as a foreign lobbyist retroactively. We'll give you that chance. You give us information about the Russia contacts in the Trump administration, in the Trump campaign, and we'll let you retroactively register without charging you with a felony. That is what I think happened, which is why Michael Flynn just now registered after lying about the fact that he was a foreign agent, after lying about the fact that he was lobbying for Turkey against a man who, it's such a... Okay, but before I get into the, I don't know if you care why he was lobbying for Turkey, but let's just put the name of the company he runs that lobbied for Turkey out on the table so that you can Google it. Because I think you'll have the most amazing experience. It'll be almost as if the propofol went on board. When you look at the page that you get, it'll be just like being knocked out. It'll be just like that. It'll be just like seeing the white light. Okay? Google Flynn Intel Group. Go ahead. I know you're on the internets because it's the only way you can listen, right? Google Flynn Intel Group. See that right there? That's how it feels to you when the propofol's on board. That right there, what you see, that's how it feels. Anyway, the Flynn Intel Group. Now remember, Flynn was an intelligence agent. He was fired by James Clapper. They didn't think that he belonged in the DNI. Isn't that interesting? He gets fired by the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. And then he goes and forms the Flynn Intel Group. Go Google it. And then all of a sudden, we have all these documents dumped by WikiLeaks with the entire cyber warfare arsenal on WikiLeaks dumped by Julian Assange so we could change the subject from Trump, and then we could get the Trumpanzees to say not only is the judicial system and the so-called judges untrustworthy, not only is the media not trustworthy, not only are the so-called intelligence agencies are now untrustworthy. And you know what's really interesting is that when you listen to like General Hayden, who was on TV, and you hear his explanation for what was likely to have occurred and how this information got out, they're pretty sure we weren't hacked from outside. Hayden feels pretty sure that what happened was some contractor from the inside actually got hold of our stuff and gave it to the Russians, who use WikiLeaks as a laundromat for our intelligence dumps. Now, isn't it interesting that, they think it was a contractor, somebody in the intelligence gathering field, and the Flynn Intel Group is Michael Flynn's Intel Group. And the Flynn Intel Group it was created prior to, right after Michael Flynn was fired from by the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. I just think it's just such an interesting flow of stuff that has happened. So he's fired after 24 days on the job, okay, after being on the campaign trail with Trump for the duration of the campaign, like a year and a half. And then he's given the job as national security advisor, he didn't have to be confirmed by the Senate, so he gets a pass there and slides right into the administration. Him and Bannon, they'll be the last voices that advised President Trump in an intelligence environment, right? Okay, so he's fired 24 days into this gig because he lies, according to them, to Mike Pence about meetings he had with Russian ambassadors. Oh, by the way, remember the show we did on all the dead Russians? You remember there was the Russian ambassador to the United States at the United Nations. He was just about to turn 65. I think it was his 64th birthday. He died. He just dropped dead, had a heart attack. Yeah, well, today they announced they're not going to release the results of his autopsy. Surprise! Now, if it was a heart attack, there would be no problem. But they're not going to release the results of his autopsy. So, we don't know. So we put him, down with, unsolved mysteries, like the guy that showed up dead in the backseat of his car, Russian guy, all these people just showing up dead. It's just so fascinating. But here's Michael Flynn. He was on the campaign. He gets the national security advisor gig, along with, Breitbart's Steve Bannon. He lasts for 24 whole days. Memes pop up all across the internet, things that last more than 24 days, carton of milk, heavy cream, definitely. Heavy cream you can keep for like a year. I know this because I make lots of things with heavy cream. But, now we find out that the whole time, not only is he meeting with the Russians, but he's lobbying on behalf of the Turkish Islamicist government, this Erdogan guy in Turkey. And he's representing their interests over America's interests because, our interest in Turkey really would be with the Kurds who are trying to get Kurdistan created. They want their own country. They want to separate from Turkey, in a Brexit sort of a move. And, if America understood anything about our foreign policy, then they would say, yeah, we're on the side of the Kurds. Why would we be on the side of the Kurds? Because the Kurds fight with us. That's why. Because the Kurds fight ISIS. They're the ones in Western Turkey. They're the ones that fight ISIS on that border. They're the ones that actually are in the, on the front lines of the fight against ISIS with the United States, and they happen to love us. That's why. Not the Islamist government of Turkey, okay? Just saying. Okay, so now we find out he got $530,000 worth of lobbying work before Election Day while he was on the campaign trail that help the Turkish government. Now, the guy that hired him said he had absolutely no connection to the Turkish government, but that turned out to be a stinking lie. He said that he was he had never been involved with the Turkish government or anything like that. It turns out that he was. He was. Anyway, so now He's under investigation, obviously, by the FBI. And all of a sudden, they allow him to go retroactively register as a foreign agent. That's got to be a deal. That's got to be some sort of a deal that Comey, squeezed out of him and said, you know what we'll do? Because it's a felony. And I told you they're going to get Manafort the same way. Same way. So what did I tell you we're looking for? We're looking for people who lawyer up. We're looking for people who suddenly do strange things. We're looking for deals being cut. We're looking for people that, admit to things that they previously hadn't admitted to. So this fits right in. I'm telling you, Rudy Giuliani is, why nobody talks about him. He is so on my horizon. He is so, Roger Stone obviously is under investigation. Why is Roger Stone? Because Roger Stone was the person who tweeted that John Podesta is next in the barrel. And then all of a sudden WikiLeaks dumps Podesta's emails right before the election and keeps releasing more Podesta emails every day right up until the election. So we know Roger Stone was getting some sort of information from WikiLeaks about dumps. And obviously Julian Assange is a Russian frontman. And you know how you can tell? Has Julian Assange ever released documents about the KGB, the FSB, the Russian intel agencies? Haven't seen him dump their documents. And I haven't seen him dump any documents from China either. It seems to me like he only messes with the United States. It seems to me that Julian Assange is the one who told Edward Snowden, go to Russia. And then all of a sudden, Snowden ends up with this woman who sticks to him like glue, and he's stuck in Russia and he can't get out. And, recall that when Snowden showed up in Russia, a destination that Julian Assange recommended, WikiLeaks dispatched a fixer from their staff, a woman named Sarah Harrison, to meet Snowden in Hong Kong, and she stood by his side in Moscow. From the time Snowden arrived in Russia, she stuck to him like glue. And then Snowden and WikiLeaks had some falling out. I don't know exactly what it was, but it showed that Snowden was just a stupid little boy who got involved way over his head in matters that are way, way beyond his competence, because Snowden was probably a whistleblower, but Assange is a Russian agent. And this whole world was not known to Snowden. So Assange and Harrison, they both knew what they were doing and for whom. And now Snowden finds out, and now there's not much he can do about it but to, repay his hosts in Russia for keeping him there. Now, why does Russia do this? Listen, Russia is trying to do exactly what's happening in this country. They want to say democracy doesn't work. They want Americans to reject democracy. They want Americans to deconstruct the entire government because they don't believe it works anymore. And they want to undermine the faith of the average American in their own political system. And that is exactly what I saw yesterday at the outpatient center while I'm having a colonoscopy. It's like people who aren't in the know, people who are barely paying attention but have a certain channel preference or radio host that they like, think that this government is just god-awful and we should tear it down. We should dismantle it, deconstruct it, as the Leninist Bannon said. Oh, he said, quote, I'm a Leninist. Yes, I'm a Leninist, and I won't be happy until we deconstruct the entire administrative state. Well, let me tell you something about that. I would rather live in a flawed democracy, one that makes mistakes, one where you get the Congress member or you get a presidential nominee as well, who, makes bad decisions now and then, than be in a perfect fascist system. Give me a flawed democracy over a perfect fascistic system any day of the week. You people are being completely lied to. And when you show them article after article after article after article on government documents and CBO estimates and anything that you can get your hands on to show them, on the immigration issue, they cost us so much money, it'll pay for the deportation. So I show them article after article after article that says that immigrants add to our GDP, that Trump's plan is going to subtract like $2 trillion from our GDP if he deports 11 million people, and what it's going to cost to deport, plus the humanitarian scale of it, and the bad will of somebody on our border, another country on our border that hates us. I try and show them, and it's like talking to a brick wall, because the Russians are propagandizing our people so that our people think that American democracy doesn't work, and we should get rid of it and go to an authoritarian system. And they go, welcome to freedom. Listen, I would rather be in a democracy that makes many, many, many mistakes, even gigantic foreign policy mistakes like George W. Bush did. No, I'm not defending him. He was a horrible president. He crashed our economy, and he took us to 2 wars, and he spent trillions of dollars and didn't take care of our vets on the back end. However, I would rather have that and transparency and understand what's happening to me every single day and be able to say that these vets need to be taken care of and be able to say don't go to war and be out on the street marching and be out on the street screaming and be on the airwaves telling you we do not want to go to this war than to be in a system where I can't say jack crap and it happens anyway. And another thing. These people are lobbying for Turkey, and these people are having, they're giving intel to the Russians, and all of a sudden WikiLeaks is releasing our cyber warfare capabilities and our methods and sources and all this stuff. But they're not globalists? Really? Well, that would be news to me and Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen and Carter Page and Roger Stone, that they are not globalists. This is what everybody accuses us of being, globalists. Globalist elitists. Right, these are ordinary people.
To speak to Randi, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
Randi Rhodes, Air Force.
Hi, we're back, and everything is possible again. Isn't it beautiful? Well, if you want to keep it this way, buy a stinking podcast. Oh yes, you have to buy a stinking podcast. And you get that at RandiRhodes.com, where we're open all day, all night long. RandiRhodes.com. Get your stinking podcast.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a diversified media enterprises production. I'm Doug Cunningham. The National Black Worker Center Project is launching a hashtag Working While Black campaign advocating a new deal for Black America. Executive Director Tanya Wallace-Goburn says to Trump and members of Congress that they should bring an end to the economic abuses of black workers with a vision that goes beyond the desire for political power.
Rather than focusing on filling the pockets and wallets of billionaires, we need to focus on building projects that don't extract wealth from our communities and builds wealth within our communities. And that's something that all of us, no matter what your race or ethnicity is, can align with.
The hashtag Working While Black campaign will expose the impacts of racial and economic injustice in the workplace through workers telling their stories.
And our goal is to launch a strategic communications and organizing campaign that's designed to mobilize and communicate the experiences and challenges, aspirations, and achievements of black workers. Black work has been synonymous with low-paying jobs that leaves black workers vulnerable.
The Congressional Black Caucus is urging Trump to seek its counsel on the New Deal for Black America, and Wallace-Goburn says that the National Black Worker Center Project partners with organized labor.
We consider ourselves fortunate to partner with organized labor. The main ways that we see participation is in our membership. There are many African Americans that are members of unions, and they are also members and supporters of the National Black Worker Center Project. I think that the other way that we've been able to partner with labor is in understanding the necessity to having better jobs created.
EPA workers are dismayed to hear U.S. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt saying he doesn't believe carbon dioxide is a primary contributor to global warming. Scientific journals and peer-reviewed articles and studies reveal that 97% or more of actively publishing climate scientists agree the global warming climate change we're experiencing is very likely due to human activities. EPA EPA workers believe that climate change is the moral issue of our time, and science is the answer to properly addressing it, not through ideologies, political parties, or economic theories. The Metro D.C. Council of the AFL-CIO is launching a new immigration program. Its aim is to defend union members and immigrant workers in the D.C. region. On Friday, there will be day-long workshops and training sessions to take hard looks at policies and approaches that protect immigrant workers. The current immigration climate will be discussed, and a new resolution is being adopted to guide Metro D.C. labor in its immigration work in the coming months.
Sponsored by Iron Workers Impact, now reserving spots for this year's groundbreaking conference, welcoming contractors to grow their business by networking and attending world-class breakouts. More on this event in San Diego, happening March 19th through the 22nd, is found online at impact-net.org under Events.
You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
I love jerky. It's big protein, big flavor, big packs, and very little carbs. My favorite snack is jerky, as you know, but you just can't get the best stuff at the gas station or the supermarket. No, you have to order it online from the best purveyors of jerky I have ever found. Herky Jerky. It is the official snack of the Randy Rhodes Air Force, and it comes in elk and buffalo, beef and bacon. Oh yes, bacon. Hot, mild, 14 other incredible flavors. And now, for the month of March, all Randy listeners get a surprise sample pack of one of the items when you purchase 2 packs or more of anything. It could be elk. It could be the venison. You could try the buffalo. Anything. It's going to be a surprise. No promo code is needed, but to get the free sample pack, write in the comments section, buy a stinking podcast. Then they'll know that the order came from you, my listeners. That runs through the end of the month, so go ahead right now. Forget it. The bacon is unbelievable. You can put it on BLTs, use it in salads, or just munch right out of the bag. Go to herkyjerky.com and buy.
The Randy Rhodes Show is live on randyrhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or progressivevoices.com now.
All right, 47 after. William in Barstow, California.
Hello, Randy, my radio goddess of truth.
Oh, hello, William.
And how are you today?
I'm
You're feeling
fine.
better after yesterday.
I actually felt fine. It's just the prep sucks, but giving autographs after you wake up from a colonoscopy is a little challenging. But all right,
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth.
A little challenging.
So, oh yes. I only have one quick question because I know you have a lot of points to get to today and connecting all the dots up and everything even more.
Yep.
And, I love that. So, just one quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Uncle Neil would be having to say about all this?
Oh my God. Oi!
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I really,
he'd have more little songs and more little song bites.
I'm hyperventilating.
Yeah, exactly. He would
I won't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah.
I used to listen to him in the morning and you in the afternoon. Then when I moved to California, I couldn't listen to Uncle Neil anymore. But,
yeah.
I think I tried to find some way to listen to you, but I couldn't then. But anyway, since you've been back on here, love, it's been absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you, and please tell your friends. Thank you.
Okay, you take care, dear.
All right, cheers. Paul in New Mexico.
Hey, Randy.
Hi.
I'm looking for a little hope here. I love what you're saying. You're watching for details of who's lawyering up and who's doing this and that, and I know you believe Comey is going to do the right thing when nobody's looking.
Yes.
But what is the actual? What am I looking for? Because I know Ryan is not going to. Ryan McConnell are not going to bring up impeachment. So what's the next step before that pushes them into it? Is it Comey?
Well, if they're charged with a crime, then that's it. Game over.
You mean Ryan is charged with a crime?
No, I mean Trump is charged with a crime. I mean Pence is charged with a crime. I mean espionage or acting against the interest of the United States of America, or even a misdemeanor. Oh man, your phone is driving my head crazy. Okay, so here's what you look for. So if listen, right now I think Trump is impeachable, and here's why. Of course, Ryan won't pay any attention to it, but if he doesn't get his health care, if he doesn't get to repeal Obamacare, maybe Ryan will get maybe we could do better with a different different president. I don't know, because this guy didn't have a plan, and I had to introduce mine, and mine was bad, and I don't know. But in my opinion, Trump has already defamed the intelligence agencies. Trump has already defamed, the entire process here. I mean, first of all, he's defamed the past president. Let's stick to a real easy one to understand. So Trump is on the TV and he's saying that Obama wiretapped him, right? And Sean Spicer is sent out to the podium to say, what? Oh. And you can't do that because now I can't even. Albert in San Diego.
What's happening, Randy?
Nothing.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Howard just knocked off all the callers.
Hey, but he didn't knock me off.
Yeah.
So, that's got to be special thing.
All right, so here they are.
You know why he didn't?
561-270-3844. 561-270-3844. Okay.
All right. No clue what that means. Hey.
You don't know what a phone number is?
Yeah, but what am I supposed to do with that number?
You just called it. You just called that number.
I have you on speed dial. That's how much I love you. I have you on speed dial. I don't even know my phone number half the time.
Oh, great. Great.
Hey, this is why I was calling you. Because a couple of shows back, you were saying, man, I got to get this done because I don't know if I have Obamacare. Baby, why aren't you on the VA like the rest of us?
I don't know. I mean, I will. If my Obamacare gets taken away, I'll go to the VA. But
you know what? I'm on the VA, and I'm not looking back. It's the best care I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
it truly is.
It's something to consider. It truly is. I mean, I'm eligible. I don't know why I don't have a VA home loan either, and I should.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have those benefits.
I know.
And my brother's like you. He's former Air Force, right?
Yeah.
And he keeps telling me, well, I don't qualify. I go, yes, you do.
No, yes, you do.
You're crazy.
Yeah, you
so
do.
That was it. I'm just throwing my arms around you and telling you I love you, and you should be on the VA.
All right, learn my phone number, learn your phone number. I think that's more important.
Okay, we'll
all right.
do that.
Okay,
by the way, one last thing. Have you seen all the laws Mexico's trying to pass?
The what?
Mexico, the senators and deputies in the Chamber of Deputies, they're just throwing all kinds of weird anti-Trump laws right now. In fact, there's some deputy is wants to reclaim 210 acres from New Mexico and Arizona. They're tripping, man.
Who could blame them? And see, this is really a deeper point. I mean, it's hysterical, but the truth is, do we really want to make an enemy of a country that's right on our southern border? I say no, but Trump does. He actually does.
I say no too, because I wanted to go down to Baja the next, not this weekend, but the weekend after. But my girlfriend doesn't have a passport, and she's afraid to.
Yeah, well, you can't go without a passport. Right, exactly. Yeah. Don't go without a passport. So wait 6 weeks. Hey, just apply for a passport. It takes about 6 weeks.
I know. I keep telling her to do this.
I
think I finally got it.
Here's another thing. I'm sorry, but if everybody, the people, here's how you could tell a snowflake. We have passports. Get one if you don't have one. It will be a very important document that you will need if things go the way I think they'll go, if we can't get this man away from the levers of power. Ed in Mississippi.
This is Nick from Mississippi. Hey there.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
That's good. The reason I'm calling because, as we all know, there's an out-and-out war between the intelligence community and Trump.
Yes.
The Trumpsters.
Yes.
And I'm kind of worried about which way this thing going to end. But now, the deepest thing in my heart, and I want your opinion, I think the intelligence community ultimately is going to win. Well, how do you think this is going to go?
I think they're going to figure out that, who the contractor was that is providing all this information to Russia, and then they dump it out through WikiLeaks. And one of the crazy, things could be that the contractor that did it was somebody that's known to Trump. For instance, just the pressure of, speculating and coming up with an example of who would be in a position to have intel like that, like cyber warfare intel. maybe the Flynn group, maybe the Flynn Intel group, because remember, the people that leak, the people that actually have done this were, like Snowden, he was a contractor, worked for Booz Allen. Now, I believe he was really a whistleblower, but I don't believe for a minute that Julian Assange is anything but a Russian agent. And, in that case, where's he getting, isn't it interesting that every time the news for Trump gets a little, a little dicey, or it looks like he's going to lose an election, all of a sudden all his compadres start tweeting, oh, something's coming, and Rudy Giuliani goes on the TV going, I know a big surprise is coming, I know a big surprise. And Roger Stone starts tweeting, oh, well, Podesta's next in the barrel. I mean, how the hell? And yes, I have back channels to WikiLeaks. So, it's just so interesting that there's a small group of people around Trump, and they all seem to know about Russian intel document dumps through WikiLeaks ahead of the document dumps. So I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that somebody with access to all of our cyber warfare sources and methods, is the contractor that did this, that did the WikiLeaks document dump. And maybe, like I said, the pressure of giving an example, it could be Flynn.
Okay, so let me say this, because what you're saying there, conceivably, if they find out who the leaker is, and if he's any way affiliated with Trump, this thing's going to lead right back to Trump. And now we're talking treason here, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We're talking espionage. We're talking treasonous activity. We're talking, somebody who put other countries ahead of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And did business with them with the intent to destroy the American democracy.
Well,
now that's a very big investigation. I mean, huge. And this is probably why Comey isn't, saying very much about anything.
I agree. And, I'm the one who told you that I give the man 6 months, which is like from January to July.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sticking with that now, because this is moving along kind of quickly.
And I said, a year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a tough. This is a tough investigation. This is serious stuff. This is really major stuff. I mean, when Fox News is reporting it with disdain, you kind of know it's starting to percolate into the newsrooms of the fake newsrooms, and they're like, okay, let's CYA. Let me just do that, because I'm not going down with this. With this ship.
Yeah, they're cutting their losses.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I really believe that the intelligence community is going to win out on this.
Yeah, I do too. First of all, they have to protect the United States of America first and foremost, and they do. And they do it, the oath says that they will protect America against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That's correct. Okay.
All right. So, yeah, I think that they will prevail, because what's been done to them is they've been first they've been trash talked, then they've been hacked, then they've had their documents released, then the documents put the national security of the United States in jeopardy. All for what? To tell people that, whatever Trump says is true, and that whatever the intel agencies say is false, whatever Trump says is true, and whatever the judicial branch says is false, whatever Trump says is true, and we had a rigged election, or we didn't have a rigged election, or the unemployment numbers are fake, or now they're real. Do you know what I mean? This is a disorientation campaign against the American people, so that they doubt all of the functions of our government. They doubt democracy itself. They doubt the judicial branch. They doubt the intelligence organizations. They doubt the validity of our elections. They doubt the validity of unemployment number. Every part of government they doubt, and it's all being done by authoritarian globalist elitists.
And I think, and the end result too, I make this prediction with you. This is going to be the end of the Republican Party as we know it.
It better be.
Yeah, because they're so quiet about all this.
Yeah, this is happening on their watch, and they're allowing it to happen. They're making excuses for it. They're turning a blind eye to it. They're saying they don't remember things. I mean, I can't even tell you. Spicer said, I'm not aware, 80 times in a press conference yesterday. 80 times he's not aware. Pence isn't aware of Flynn's lobbying. Trump isn't aware of Flynn's lobbying. Corey Lewandowski can't remember if he was involved in an email exchange with Carter Page giving him the go-ahead to go to Russia ahead of the first WikiLeaks dump. He can't remember, except there's an email trail of him saying, yeah, go ahead, go to Russia on our behalf. It's very scary.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randy Rhodes Show.
The Randy Rhodes Show is brought to you by our partners at ITM Trading. Call them at 1-888-OWN-GOLD and ask for a free gold kit. 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
More than 1 million acres burning tonight across Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Kansas.
State of emergency declared for early season wildfires across 4 states. Trump administration plans cuts to Coast Guard, FEMA, and Energy Star program. Gulf of Mexico dolphins still suffering effects of the 2010 BP oil disaster. Plus,
air pollution is something that we can solve.
Pollution is responsible for the deaths of 1.7 million children each year.
All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
The rationale for the proposed cuts? Limiting federal spending and overreach by allowing states to enforce environmental laws.
What could possibly go wrong? This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, is it just me, or does it seem very, very early for wildfire season to already be kicking off?
It is very, very early for wildfire season, especially in Oklahoma. Now, this is the state that in early February hit a record high of 100 degrees. Now, a state of emergency has been declared by Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin due to an outbreak of wildfires in what officials say is the worst wildfire event in northwest Oklahoma history. This early season outbreak of wildfires across 4 states, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and Colorado, has already killed at least 6 people and burned more than 1 million acres.
What's the name of the new EPA administrator again?
Scott Pruitt.
And he doesn't believe in climate change, right?
No, he doesn't.
And where is he from again?
Oklahoma.
Huh.
Well, the wildfires are also what makes the Trump administration's proposed budget cuts even more inexplicable. The Trump administration's Office of Management and Budget proposes slashing the budget of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, by 15%, and that would directly affect disaster relief, response, and recovery for states that have natural disasters like tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires, like in Oklahoma. The Office of Management and Budget also plans significant cuts to the U.S. Coast Guard. That would impact not only national security in protecting the nation's vast coastlines, but also the Coast Guard's operations in curbing illegal fishing, its capacity as the first responder to offshore oil spills, and the Coast Guard's operations in the Arctic, especially now that Russia is expanding its reach in exploiting the melting Arctic's fossil fuel resources.
I thought that Donald Trump was going to increase military spending by $54 billion. Is the Coast Guard no longer a part of the military?
Apparently not.
That's weird.
The OMB also proposes eliminating the popular Energy Star program for consumer products. The Energy Star program sets energy efficiency standards for appliances and electronics that save consumers money, billions in energy costs every single year. Of course, that may be why it's slated for elimination, because $1 billion saved is $1 billion not paid to the energy industry.
Well said.
Meanwhile, a group of scientists who are tracking changes to the websites of federal science agencies announced this week that the website of the Environmental Protection Agency's Science and Technology Office has removed the word science from its mission statement. So the EPA Science and Technology Office writes clean water standards. Its website used to say it relied on science-based standards for clean drinking water. Now it just says it relies on, quote, economically and technologically achievable standards for clean water.
Wow. Talk about lowering the bar.
The new Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke this week announced another sale of leases for offshore drilling in federal waters in the Gulf of Mexico. But scientists say wildlife in the Gulf still hasn't recovered from the BP oil disaster in 2010. A new study finds the endangered Kemp's Ridley sea turtle still has a 75% mortality rate. Bottlenose dolphin populations in the Gulf are still suffering high rates of severe lung disease and low reproductive rates. Pollution is also a leading cause of death among young children around the world. That's according to new data from the World Health Organization. Pollution is responsible for 25% of the deaths of young children under the age of 5 around the world. That is 1.7 million children every year from toxic air, contaminated water, and lack of sanitation. Air pollution is particularly inescapable, warns WHO Director General Dr. Margaret Chan in an interview with the BBC.
Everybody has to breathe. And when breathing becomes deadly, the entire city, doesn't matter which part you are in, become a hazard to health.
Finally, though, some good news. The air is a lot cleaner in the United Kingdom now as the British government phases out the use of coal. And the UK's carbon emissions have fallen at the same time by switching to cleaner burning natural gas, ramping up renewables, and also with a strong carbon tax. That carbon tax has helped cut Britain's emissions to 19th century levels.
Silly Britain. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to, check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
This has been the Green News Report on the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randy Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
So today, I guess WikiLeaks, it sounds like, is going to be dropping some more. And the more emails WikiLeaks releases, the more lines between the Clinton Foundation, the Secretary of State's office, and the Clintons' personal financiers, they all get blurred. Newly public emails, WikiLeaks. This magnitude's worse, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people in law enforcement. This is worse than Watergate. By the way, did you see another one? Another one came in today. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove. Another one came in today. They've got to start talking about WikiLeaks. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press. Let's see if that happens. That'll be next. We are looking into that very seriously. It's a criminal act. I don't want classified information getting out to the public. And in a way, that was almost a test.
You know, this man is such a front-running phony. It depends on, what side of the leaks he's on, right? I mean, now he's like, oh, we'll get the leakers, But before, he loved the way, I love WikiLeaks, he said. WikiLeaks. Everybody has to talk about WikiLeaks. We have to read WikiLeaks. They were acting for him. And he loved it. He loved every minute of it. He told the Russians, I hope you're listening. And it's obvious that, I told you, Manafort is in trouble simply because he didn't register as a foreign agent when he was lobbying for Viktor Yanukovych, the pro-Russian dictator in Ukraine, the pro-Russian autocrat in Ukraine who allowed Crimea to be annexed and then fled to Russia. Same thing with Flynn. Flynn was also meeting with Russians and the administration says, oh, we didn't know. He was lying. He lied to Mike Pence. That's why he's gone. He lied to Mike Pence. That's not why he was gone. He's gone because he got caught. And now we find out that he was also lobbying for Turkey. Except we didn't just find this out. This has been common knowledge since October. Okay, and people like me who said these people cannot be lobbying for foreign governments without registering as foreign agents are committing felonies. Now, all of a sudden, the administration is saying, we just found out. That can't be true. The idea that Flynn had worked for multiple interests in Turkey was common knowledge. Elijah Cummings wrote a letter to Mike Pence in November, saying to him, quote, retired Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, a vice chair of the Trump transition who is in the running for a top national security post in the new administration, runs a consulting firm that is lobbying for Turkish interests. This is a quote from the letter. He said, recent news reports have revealed that Lieutenant General Flynn was receiving classified briefings during the presidential campaign while his consulting firm, Flynn Intel Group, Inc., was being paid to lobby the U.S. government on behalf of a foreign government's interests. That is not at all cagey or mystical. It's so straightforward. It's so on point. And sent this to Mike Pence. And now Mike Pence is going, oh, well, we just found out that Flynn was lobbying. I did not know that. There is no way he could not know that. And this is why I keep saying, people say to me, well, if we impeach Trump, we're going to end up with Pence. No, the whole administration is going. Once this investigation is over, the entire administration is leaving. They are going, and they are going under the most shameful of circumstances. That is treason and espionage against the United States. There just isn't any question. Now, I pulled a video, but the audio is easier for me to manage right now. So let me just play Michael Hayden today on CNN, and the lead with Jake Tapper, Jake Tapper was asking him, do you find the timing of this a little strange? I mean, isn't it just so odd that every time things get a little convenient for Trump, all of a sudden this big document dump from WikiLeaks comes, and just isn't it so interesting? So here's the former head of the CIA, General Michael Hayden, talking about this.
With no evidence at all, and everybody who is in the know either says they have no evidence of it or it's not true. The President Obama ordered a wiretap of him, and it happened. Are you confident that President Trump has people around him who can tell him what's true and what's not true?
That's a wonderful question, and I've made the comment several times since Saturday morning that it seems as if the president woke up on Saturday morning and actually forgot that he was the president of the United States. Because if this really were a question for him, all he had to do was roll over, hit that button on the phone, and say, "Get Comey and the acting director of national intelligence down here before lunch. I got questions." That's all he had to do. But he reverted to this for whatever reason. And, of course, there's been a lot of speculation about it. But he wasn't acting as president or presidentially.
But do you think, you worked in the Bush administration, and I know he had people around him that could say, he had people that disagreed. He had people, he had Dick Cheney, but he also had Condi Rice.
So I do have this fear. All right, and let's just lay it out as a fear, not a conclusion, that the president seems to confront the truth tellers, whether it be a judge telling him about the law, or you guys trying to report the news, or the intelligence guys trying to report their view of the world. They become intelligence, in quote, the dishonest media, or this so-called judge.
Yeah.
There seems to be an attempt to invalidate, delegitimize folks coming to the president or within the president's sphere with information that cuts across his pre-assumed narrative of the world.
Yes, and so the last person in the room to talk to the president is Steve Bannon. Don't you get what they're doing to you? Don't you get, how could you not understand it by now? That the campaign of Donald Trump relied on help from the Russians every time things got, uncomfortable for him, when it looked like he was going to lose, when it looked like, he was the WikiLeaks document dump. Do you remember when it happened? The original document dump with Hillary's emails? It was the day after the grab him by the P word video. It was the Access Hollywood video. It was the day after. All of a sudden, we're talking about, the president has just admitted to being a groper of women. The president has just admitted to illegal behavior. He just goes up to women and he can do anything he wants to them. And he grabs them by the pee and he just, he does Tic Tacs because he doesn't even wait for permission. He just starts kissing them. He can't stop. The next day, we got the WikiLeaks dumps. And every time something happens that Donald Trump finds inconvenient in the press, in the natural cycle of news, we get more WikiLeaks dumps. Now we're getting really close to the fact that, Manafort's under investigation. Roger Stone is, Carter Page. There are now emails between Carter Page and Corey Lewandowski and Hope Hicks, who is you don't even know. I mean, people can kind of remember what Corey Lewandowski looks like because he was on CNN after he got fired, after Manafort pushed him out. And Lewandowski was still on the payroll of the Trump campaign, but was working on CNN as a pundit, which was very strange. But you probably don't remember what Hope Hicks looks like. Hope Hicks is the spokesperson for Donald Trump to the press. And Hope Hicks says she doesn't recall either whether or not they gave the permission to Flynn, to Carter Page, to go to Russia. But there are emails saying that Carter Page had asked repeatedly for permission to go, as the foreign policy advisor of the Trump campaign at the time, over to Russia. And as soon as he goes, shortly thereafter, a WikiLeaks dump. See, I mean, there's a whole timeline of things that have happened, and the more that gets investigated, and the more, and now nobody can remember. Hope Hicks said she doesn't remember ever talking to Carter Page, but she's not going to comment because she doesn't know. She has to look. Lewandowski said he never met him, he never talked to him, and now all of a sudden there are emails, and he said, "Oh well, I don't remember. Isn't that what Donald Trump mocked the reporter? Who was disabled? Isn't it? I don't remember. I can't remember. Wasn't that? Now nobody can remember. Nobody can remember anything. I just find this, so freaking fascinating. Everybody's lost. Meanwhile, Lindsey Graham says he's ready to subpoena the Trump administration. He's ready.
The president has asked Congress to look into whether or not his campaign was wiretapped by the Obama administration. I will take up that challenge, and we sent a letter to the Department of Justice and the FBI asking them for any information that they may have used to obtain a warrant. The whole purpose of this is find out if a warrant was issued directed at the Trump campaign.
And if they don't provide this information?
Then I'll have done my job. Either they're lying to me or there is no information. And I don't believe they would lie to me about this. I expect them to come forward as to whether or not a warrant was obtained or sought.
And will you subpoena this information if they don't comply?
Yes.
You will. Did you talk to Trump about this last night?
I just talked to him about Russia. I said Russia's not our friend. They need to pay a price for interfering in our elections. And I think the president gets that the best way to change the world is for America to be strong. My lunch with the president really was great. He's in a problem-solving, deal-making mode. I know this is the intrigue of the moment, but there are deals to be made out there to...
Okay. So, yes, he will subpoena the FISA court for the warrant that Obama's administration seemingly applied for and got to wiretap Donald Trump. Now, if there is no warrant, Donald Trump is impeachable in this way. He has defamed... Yes, Obama's a public figure, the biggest public figure in the world, perhaps, besides for Oprah, who might run for president, which would be great. But he has defamed President Obama by accusing President Obama of a crime that is as huge as Nixon's crimes in Watergate, if not, it's actually huger, that he was wiretapping, that he applied for a warrant and was wiretapping during a presidential campaign the candidate himself through using his intelligence services. That would be the crime of the century. And if it's not true, then Donald Trump has defamed, which is a very high bar for a public figure, but he has managed to do it. He has managed to defame President Barack Obama. And in that case, that, they say you could be impeached for high crimes or misdemeanors. And even though that's a civil complaint, defamation is hashed out in a civil court, not a criminal court, it would still be a civil violation of the law, and he could actually be adjudicated guilty, in which case he would need to be impeached. So if there's no warrant to wiretap Trump, and Trump said in like a series of tweets that some lawyer could make great hay out of this and that he just found out that he was wiretapped by Obama, he still got to go. And that's the least of it. If it turns out that Flynn Intel Group, who had previously, Michael Flynn as its CEO, was previously part of the Directorate of National Intelligence and was fired by James Clapper, and that he had access to information, classified information, and that he gave it to the Russians, forget about it. And there is no way that the administration can deny that they knew this, because it was in many newspapers. This was common knowledge that he was lobbying for Turkey.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Hey, Trump is in the White House. Gold. Yes, gold. It really has the opportunity to do super well. That's definitely one good reason to own it. But did you know that there are a lot of benefits to owning gold? When you have gold in your physical possession, it provides safety. It's a hedge against inflation, U.S. dollar turmoil, and presidential instability. Gold has so much historical precedence as real money that the central banks that run the global financial system buy gold in staggering quantities year after year. Many financial service providers agree that gold is a great diversification tool for everyone's portfolio. If you want to learn more about the benefits of owning gold, just call my friends at ITM Trading at 1-888-OWN-GOLD. Whether you want to own physical gold in your possession or put some in your IRA, call ITM today at 1-888-OWN-GOLD. ITM specializes in all types of gold and silver coins and bars. Call ITM Trading. Get your free gold kit at 1-888-OWN-GOLD. 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
Hello, Progressive Voices tune-in listeners. I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. Did they find anything to replace Obamacare with?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Of course not. The reality is that they've had all these years pondering what they would do when they got their way and threw Obamacare out of the bus. And now they can't come up with something, in part because, gosh, the guy at the head of their party now says healthcare is complicated.
Right.
Just now noticed how complicated it was.
And let's insure everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And the Republicans said, wait, that wasn't part of the plan, dude.
We thought it was simple. We take away their health care and they die.
Yeah, right. So, Donna, if there were a replaced document, have you heard anything that might be on it?
Well, yeah. I mean, we keep hearing the same tunes about, the whole allowing people to buy insurance across state lines. I'm like, great, let me go buy a cheap plan in New Hampshire and see how well that does in Colorado. I wonder how many docs will be a part of that plan. But they also have these ideas always about, creating more competition and allowing people to have these great healthcare savings accounts that are going to cover the tens of thousands it can cost if you get sick in this country right at the moment. So, it's more of the same. Every once in a while you'll hear them say that they're going to retain keeping people with pre-existing conditions covered. However, they also continue to say that the insurance companies are having such a hard time making money under this plan that they're going to have to let them charge 5 times as much for premiums for people over 50 years old. So those of us who are 50 and over, good luck with that.
Check out our show at nursetalksite.com and listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on Progressive Voices.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Just of the timing of this, President Trump praised WikiLeaks a lot in the past. Obviously, WikiLeaks, whether it was their goal or not, they certainly helped the Trump campaign. And here we have a situation where President Trump is complaining about intelligence, complaining about leaks, people around him complaining about the so-called deep state out to get him. And then voila, a couple days later, this huge trove of documents about the CIA and their abilities to spy on people.
I must confess that the thought occurred to me, but I would not suggest it as anything more than perhaps a potential hypothesis, a thing that you might want to look into as you go forward. I don't know that the Russians actually committed the theft. This may be what WikiLeaks said it was, an insider. But with regard to the timing, I mean, look, I'm now pretty close to the position that WikiLeaks is acting as an arm, as an agent of the Russian Federation.
Yeah.
You have proof of that, or you just mean
this is my making assumptions based upon what's happened over the past year and what WikiLeaks has been doing. Look, Jake, they claim to be a transparency organization. I wish the hell they would emphasize transparency in some of the world's autocratic nations.
It's exactly right. WikiLeaks does not expose the autocratic nations of Russia or Turkey or Ukraine, when Yanukovych was there. He only leaks, or China with the one baby policy. No, he only, releases stuff against the U.S. government, the Julian Assange does. And everybody is suspicious of the timing. And it's just so fascinating that both things can be true. And Michael Hayden knows this because he's the former head of the CIA. Both things can be true. WikiLeaks claims it was a contractor that gave them the cyber warfare information that they then released. And and Julian Assange is saying, oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The stuff we released was like nothing. We got so much more. So much more. Now, Julian Assange never asked the source, he says, of his documents. Yeah, right. And so no one knows where he got the documents from, but he is saying it came from inside the intelligence community, meaning a contractor. Now, that can be true, and it could be that contractor is a disgruntled, Trump campaign aide who was screaming lock her up on the campaign trail over some emails, and then only lasted 24 days as the national security advisor to Donald Trump after being fired previously by the director of national intelligence, James Clapper, for being unsuitable for the job at DNI. And then setting up his own intelligence contracting company called Flynn Intel Group, which if you Google, depending on your browser, if you have Google Chrome, I should have told you, if you have Google Chrome, you're going to get a warning that this site is looking to hack yours. It's looking to get your passwords. It's looking to get your personal information. It's looking to get all your stuff. Please don't go here. If you're not on Google Chrome and you're using like regular Google or some other, search engine, you'll probably just get a blank white page for the Flynn Intel Group, www.flynnintelgroup.com. Yeah, it's just so fascinating, isn't it? And you just look at, Flynn's reputation. You look at Roger Stone's reputation. You look at how they knew things were going to be leaked before they were actually leaked, how they were tweeting these things out, how Rudy Giuliani went on the TV and told Martha McCallum, the big surprise is coming, big surprise. And then all of a sudden, Comey is forced to correct the record about additional WikiLeaks emails claiming, and it could have been disinformation for all we know, but it could have been real, claiming that Huma Abedin's emails showed up on Anthony Weiner's server, and now Comey feels like he needs to correct the record on this closed investigation because the last testimony he gave to Congress was that was the end of the emails. Now, all of a sudden, the FBI bureau in New York alerts the D.C., Comey, the D.C. bureau, and saying, oh no, there's more on Anthony Weiner's laptop. God only knows who put it there. God only knows how it got there. We never got an explanation, did we? No. But how in the world did Roger Stone know? How in the world did Rudy Giuliani know? How? And why was Manafort lobbying in Ukraine without a license? Without a foreign agent? And by the way, Flynn was lobbying for Turkey and also meeting with the Russian ambassador, over and over and over and over again, lying about it to the point where he has to resign his national security advisor position. Also, This man has been so disgraced by every single high office he has been privileged to hold. He has never risen to the occasion. He's been fired by Clapper at DNI. He's been fired by Trump. I mean, how bad do you have to be fired by Trump? And Trump is saying he had no idea that he lobbied for Turkey, even though this was common knowledge. It was in the newspapers. And people like me were saying, you better be registered as a foreign agent. You better be, because it's a felony to do it if you're not. Elijah Cummings wrote a letter to Mike Pence trying to give him a heads up, saying, listen, this guy is trying to be the national security advisor, and I know he doesn't have to have Senate confirmation, but I just want to let you know, so you can't say you didn't know before you make him national security advisor, that he's been lobbying for Turkey without a license, without declaring himself as a foreign agent. You should know that. It's been in the newspapers. I don't know if you read or not, but I wanted you to know. And now Pence goes, I did not know that. You can't do that. It's just a lie. Everything is a lie. There's so much lying going on. And again, I say, if they have nothing to hide, why are they hiding everything? Why did Jeff Sessions have to resign after it was found out that he secretly met with Russians? Flynn had to resign. Now Pence says he didn't know any of this. He was lied to. He's the only one that didn't know, even though it was, in the newspaper. This is ridiculous. Manafort, we didn't know. Trump says, well, we knew he did something for Ukraine or one of those countries. Oh, give me a break. You go back with him to the freaking 1990s. He lives in Trump Tower, for God's sake. You hired, what was it, Black, Manafort, and Stone, which is Charlie Black, Paul Manafort, and Roger Stone. You hired their law firm. You can't just claim ignorance. So it's just waiting. It's just percolating right now. Dan in New Mexico.
Hey, Randy, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So, I had a couple things. One thing I wanted to share with you is when you disappeared on us, we have anxiety over our...
I did not disappear. I gave you fair warning. I said I was not coming in the next day and had to...
Actually, I heard you. I heard you.
Right. And so, HIPAA should apply, meaning I should not have to tell you that I'm having these procedures, but I did tell you.
Right, I actually heard you the day before, so I wasn't freaked out.
Right,
but anytime there's like an absence, it's like, oh no. But
you sound freaked out.
Oh no, I'm calm. The story I wanted to share with you is I drive a school bus, and during the campaign there was this one little boy. He used to sit in the front, and he said he heard people talking about what's going to happen. And I said, there's absolutely no way that Trump would win. And then, he won. What do I tell this, guy? Well, he can't do anything to you. It was all bluster. And now this kid is like, he's been in and out of the hospital. The family is kind of stopped going to school. The little sister comes, but the little boy is so terrified that he's at home hiding. And it's just,
Wait. Is he a Hispanic boy? Is he afraid for his parents?
He is Hispanic.
Yeah.
I drive around California into ranch areas, so he's kind of got a Hispanic family.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgraceful. This man is causing, so much terror in this country. He is a terrorist. He's terrorizing the entire immigrant community. I mean, today there were reports in Los Angeles, I think it's 1 out of 5 kids at Beverly Hills High School are from Iran, and they're scared to death that their parents, if they go home to visit for the Iranian New Year, won't be allowed to come back into the country. The same thing with the Hispanic kids. They're terrified to go to school because they'll come home and mom and dad will be...
I've heard personal stories. But the one thing that I wanted to share with you is that I share with them a daily Randy Rhodes update on the noose tightening around Trump's neck. And it helps.
Well, that's good.
So I give them the Randy Rhodes update on what's going on.
Well, thank you. Is that it?
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay. Well, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, Dan.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Dennis in Buffalo.
Hey, Randy. First of all, I want to go over real quick. You said that we could probably arrest Trump, but I don't think you can arrest him.
I didn't think we could arrest. I didn't say that at all.
Oh, you did?
What I said was that currently, if there is no warrant to wiretap Donald Trump, as Donald Trump tweeted maniacally on Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. over and over and over again, what he has done is accuse the past president of a crime, and that's defamatory. It's libelous. And so if Trump is guilty of that, that would be adjudicated in a civil court, not a criminal court, but still it would fall under high crimes and misdemeanors, and he would be impeachable.
Yes, but I think a better method than impeachment, because waiting on a Republican to do the right thing, we'll be waiting forever. A recall could be better, even in states that ain't even having a presidential election. We could do it here in New York. But what I really wanted to get at...
What could you do in New York? You can't have a recall. He's a lemon, but he's not an automobile.
We can't recall the president?
No.
Oh. Because here, what I really wanted to say was, everybody's talking about the Russians, but nobody's saying, what does the Russians really want?
I told you what the Russians really want.
They got the oil.
No, what the Russians really want is for the United States of America to fall into chaos, meaning you have a divided country where people who are supporting Donald Trump and this craziness have lost all faith in democracy and are willing to try oligarchy or autocracy or fascism or communism or some other form of government where the press gets silenced and the judiciary is doubted, the intelligence community is doubted. If, God forbid, we're attacked, remember, Trump's going to have to get on TV and say his intelligence community told him who attacked us. But if he's denigrating the intelligence community, nobody's going to believe him. It's all to sow doubt within the United States regarding democracy, that democracy failed and we need a different type of governance. And Donald Trump is selling autocracy. Donald Trump is selling ruling by diktat. He's selling, ruling by executive order. He's not introduced one single piece of legislation. Not one single piece. Not even Obama. The replacement for Obamacare is Paul Ryan's plan. He lied. He didn't really have a plan. He doesn't have a plan for ICE. He doesn't have anything. So that's what they want.
He's weakening America by eliminating the education department, the EPA, the Department of Justice. We got all kind of top secret
You're
information.
missing the point. You're missing the point. The point is to change the type of government we have. Right now we have a democratic republic, okay? He seeks to change the system of government here. We call it democracy, and he and the Russians would like to see that end. It's not about weakening. It's about causing and sowing so much distrust for the democratic way we self-govern that people will be willing to do something other than democracy. They will be willing to have a strong leader. They will be willing to have an autocrat. They would be willing to try oligarchy or autocracy or, anything but democracy, because he is trying to tell the American people who support him that democracy doesn't work.
Not his way.
Okay. Paul in Woodinville.
What I am suggesting, sir, respectfully, that there could be a Romulan spy aboard this ship.
All right.
I mean, Randy, really.
What?
If you don't know that your national security advisor was a foreign agent, what else don't you know?
Well, you know what? If you don't know that your national security advisor was a foreign agent, then you shouldn't be president of the United States, number one. Number two, I would really hold off on attacking the intelligence community who is trying to let you know.
Right.
Listen, no, people really don't get it. They don't understand what Russia wants with us. And obviously what Russia wants with us is for us to fail. It's for us to move away from a transparent democracy that is flawed into an autocratic society where the flaws will remain, the wealth gets distributed finally and forever to the oligarchs, to the billionaires, to the people with close ties to Donald Trump. Everyone else can go to hell. The people can fight it out amongst themselves, and nobody will be allowed to speak about it. Look, that benefits Russia all across the board. It benefits them with the oil and gas deals that ExxonMobil wants to, pursue. It also means that the European Union is unprotected, and they can start invading Lithuania, and they can start invading Estonia, places Americans don't give a rat's ass about, but should, because it means that Europe is being dismantled.
Well, was it Flynn or was it Mattis, or was it both of them, who Congress had to pass a waiver for them to take the position because they hadn't been out of the military for 7 years?
No, that was Mattis.
That was Mattis.
Yeah.
Okay. And Flynn didn't require Senate confirmation. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so if you really want me to believe that Trump didn't know that he was a foreign agent, that's bullshit.
Of course it's bullshit. It's been in the newspapers. Elijah Cummings wrote a letter to Mike Pence way back in October and November. Listen, everybody knew it. It was common knowledge. Everybody knows it. Everybody knew it. There is no question.
So he's General Ski. He's General Crossing, General Ski. I think this does start to qualify as treason. I mean, it really does. And I think that the Republicans are, at this point, they're using him. Trump is their useful idiot. They want him. They need somebody with a pen. They need somebody with a pen to sign their wackadoodle.
They need more than that. They need a salesman. They need a con man. They need somebody who just says any damn thing, and will say anything in order to, plow through all the evidence against him.
But aren't they going down a dangerous road here?
Yeah.
Because when this does come out, if I were anybody, a Republican, I would be running from this guy. Considering what you might even suspect, I would be running away from. I would be putting a lot of distance between me and Donald Trump, because the closer you are, the more you're implicated.
Well, don't you remember? I read. People got upset with me because I even read anything Elliot Cohn wrote because of what a hawk he is and all that. But Elliot Cohn tried to warn every person who would agree with him on his foreign policy views not to go to work for the Trump administration. He's the one that said you will be selling your soul to the devil, and the devil takes the payments on the installment plan, meaning you're gonna be put through the ringer over and over and over and over. It will never ever end because they are so corrupt. There's so much bad stuff going on there. There's so much acquiescence to autocratic governments around the world, especially Russia. The WikiLeaks thing was just a big red flag that, Trump got in bed with the Russians, because Assange never trashes China, never trashes Russia, never trashes Ukraine, never trashes any autocratic, government on the planet. Only the United States.
Right. Okay, and then here's the other question, is that, one person knows for certain whether Trump knew about Flynn's connections or his foreign agent status, and that's Michael Flynn. And so don't we put him, he's got to sit in front of some kind of a hearing and answer that question. Did the president know that you were a foreign agent?
Yes, right? And that will happen. That's what I'm telling you. That's, Trump is too cute by half. He's telling Congress to investigate. Well, they will. They're
right. At some point they will.
No, they have. It's underway. They're already doing it. Now, I told you the Senate's going to do their stuff behind closed doors, but the first House hearing, and of course the Republicans will control it, but the Democrats will get a chance to ask a freaking question, but the Republicans will decide who comes before the committee. Will be on March 20th.
No, that's next week. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's all coming.
They probably already know most of it already.
Well, I don't know what they know. I don't know how much Comey is sharing. I don't know how much, he needs to keep this close to the vest because of the nature of it. I mean, we are talking here about treason and espionage. So God only knows what they know. I know that Adam Schiff keeps saying he needs more information. He wants the intercepts. He wants the transcripts of the calls. And, then you have Mark Warner over in the Senate who says he talks to Comey all the time. So God only knows which members of Congress know what. But it will be interesting on March 20th to see who they call and what the questions are like and how deep it goes. As Ann and Nancy Wilson once sang, how deep it goes.
The Randy Rhodes, Air Force. The Randy Rhodes Show is live on RandyRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Try and get up every morning, day after day, and work for a living. Let's see him try that. Then we'll choose the real tough guy. The working man is the tough guy.
With me, Joe Wilson, a wealth management advisor with a big money management house.
Mo money, yo money, Joe money.
Not your grandpa's financial show. What's going on, my money mavens and moolah misfits? It's me, your money guy, Joe Wilson of the Joe Knows Money Show, reporting live on Progressive Voices Network, delivering you 4 minutes of money news you can use. The average American spends about $1,000 a year on their cell phone bill. But some industry insiders estimate about $50 billion is wasted annually on parts of the plan that you don't even need or use. That leads me to my next topic, 4 painless ways to lower your cell phone bill. Number 1, find cheaper companies that access the same towers. Are you aware that discount cell carriers like Rate Talk Wireless access the same cell towers as Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint? As a matter of fact, the big carriers actually own the cell towers and sell access to smaller players at a highly discount rate. For example, Public Wireless uses T-Mobile towers. Use this information to your advantage when deciding if one of these discount cell carriers is for you. You can save a lot of money every month if you do switch. For example, Straight Talk offers unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigabytes of data at a 4G speed for only $45 per month. The same plan with Verizon will cost you over $70. Number 2, learn to negotiate a deal. If you're happy with the carrier you currently have, consider calling them up to negotiate a better rate. This is especially true if you're month-to-month with your carrier. Start by doing a few minutes of homework and check out what the competitors are offering. Take note of plans similar to yours that are cheaper. Those less expensive plans are going to be your negotiating ammo. When you call customer service, tell the first person that you speak with that you want to cancel your service as it's too expensive. Without fail, they'll transfer you to the customer loyalty or retention department. These are the folks who have the authority to lower your bill. Keep in mind, the cell companies spend a lot of money on new customer acquisition and are often willing to throw you a bone to keep you as a loyal customer. Immediately tell them about your research and the cell carrier you're considering switching to. At this point, the retention specialist will either offer you a discount to stay as a customer or tell you that they can't meet the competitor's lower rate. Number 3, always look for employer discount. Many employers work with cell phone companies to provide their employees with a discount rate. Some of the most popular jobs that often qualify include teachers, military, and many corporate jobs. Each provider offers a little different discount, so your best bet is to check with the big 4, Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, to see if you're eligible for a discount. Most discounts are in the 10% to 25% range. Number 4, analyze your monthly usage. It's easy to fall into a trap of being happy with your cell phone service and ignore the small details, like if you actually need everything on your plan that you are paying for month after month. Are you being charged for things like enhanced voicemail? If you don't need it or rarely use it, cut it out of your plan. Also be sure to look for family share plans. They provide an excellent way to save if you need multiple lines. Now it's time for Joe's Money Trap of the Day. Cell phone companies make a lot of money from overage fees, and carriers aren't exactly great at helping you make this decision. Make the wrong choice and you'll pay for it, because overage charges will mount. If you're on Verizon or AT&T, you can expect to pay $15 for every gigabyte over your plan's limit. Here is Joe's Money Grab of the Day. Let free websites like whistleout.com do the work for you. Tell them what you need, and they'll tell you if your plan is the right fit. And now it's time for Joe's Quote of the Day. Most people take no care of their money till they come to the end of it, and others do just the same with their time. That is a quote by Joanne Wolfgang Van Gogh. You are listening to the Joe Knows Money Show on Progressive Voices Network. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Joe Knows Money and on Twitter at Joe Knows Money.
The Randy Rhodes Show is brought to you by our partners at ITM Trading. Call them at 1-888-OWN-GOLD and ask for a free gold kit. 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandyRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Yes or no? Do you believe that President Obama did that?
Well, what I can say is that the President and our administration are very confident that the congressional committees in the House and Senate that are examining issues surrounding the last election, the run-up to the last election. We'll do that in a thorough and equitable way.
I'm sure you noticed that the vice president was asked yes or no, do you believe President Obama committed this action? One that both the FBI director and former director of national intelligence have said did not happen, and the vice president did not answer. And he did not say he believed it. This is, interestingly, just the latest example of members of the president's own team refusing to say that they believe his apparently false claim. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said the president did not share his reasons for making the untethered charge. That would be above his pay grade, he said. Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, quote, the American people have a right to know if this took place. I repeat, if this took place. The president says it took place. His deputy press secretary, not so sure. Every credible person with access to intelligence says this did not happen, or they have seen no evidence that it happened. And not even the vice president will say that he believes it happened. No one from the president's team says the charge is true. No one says, I believe the president. And these are people who are paid to believe the president. Now, the president's tweets about apparently non-existent wiretapping by President Obama were apparently based on reporting of actual wiretaps that may have revealed contacts between Trump campaign advisors and Russians known to U.S. intelligence. In 11 days, the House Intelligence Committee will hold its first public hearing on Russia's apparent meddling in U.S. politics. And as lawmakers review evidence, classified and declassified, one Democratic congressman on the Intelligence Committee just launched a webpage to try to connect the dots between President Trump and his inner circle and Russian officials, based on publicly available information.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting next week. On the 20th of March, the House will have its very first hearing on what evidence, it'll be on everything. The Russia connections, it'll be on whether or not there's any truth to the claim that the current president made against the former president, accusing him of one of the greatest crimes in the entire history of the United States, wiretapping a campaign, the campaign of Donald Trump, while the campaign was going on, by going to the secret FISA court and getting a warrant to do so. This is going to be fascinating. It's an amazing thing. Robert in Naples.
Yeah, how are you? I'm glad you went through all that stuff. Hope you feel good. Hope nothing's there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's just do simple math. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 is United States military-wise. Number 2, China, and then 3, Russia. 2 sees 3 kicking 1's ass right now. 2's got to say, hey, if 3 wins, we're screwed here. 1 owes us a lot of money. So if you see a guy getting his ass kicked and owes you money, you're going to go collect that money before he disappears, no?
Who's kicking whose ass? I don't know.
I think right now Russia's kicking our ass. I think in a matter of time, if nothing happens and things stay the same way, I think we're going to be, like you say, manipulated, oligarchy, and we'll be the slave. And, in the United States and Russia will be one. Well, they'll be one entity.
I was going to say, the Republican Party has, for the longest time, wanted to sell our government to the highest bidder. They privatized under George Bush everything from prisons to war fighting, okay? Contractors fighting the war. Changed the entire trajectory of that war. Blackwater, who is, Eric Prince, the former company Blackwater, the contractors that went into Fallujah without telling the generals that were planning shock and awe, that they were going to go into Fallujah, changed the entire trajectory of the Iraq war by acting on their own. Now, Eric Prince is the brother of our Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. I mean, you keep telling me, these people that troll me, they keep telling me you're the globalist elitist. Really? I am. Your Republican Party has been on the side of every globalist elitist, privatizing every function of our government as fast as they could, from war fighting to border security to prisons, okay? Giving the prison system over to a for-profit company that would only benefit if more people went to prison. That would be, their goal. Big Pharma also allied with Republicans. I mean, it's so sick. And now you've got the granddaddy of them all, a country that literally has oil and gas treasure troves that they can't, manipulate out of the ground without us. They need ExxonMobil. They need our expertise. And we put sanctions on them for hacking our elections. And then we kicked out 35 of their spies. And now you got a president who says, we'll put them back, and we'll take the sanctions off so that, you could drill in the Arctic Circle and explore your deepest desires to have more oil and gas. And what's really sick is Russia is on the brink of collapse. Russia is a giant. If you look at the expanse of land that is Russia, it's gigantic. Gigantic. However, its economy is the size of Italy. Left all alone and with sanctions upon them, they will disintegrate. And so they're in this big race to make sure we disintegrate first. And the best way to do it is to sow doubt within the United States about the way we self-govern. Say democracy doesn't work. It's broken. It is the Republicans that broke it and that continue to break it and that continue to sow the seeds of doubt that it can't work because democracy is flawed. But it, as imperfect as it is so much more preferable to oligarchy or to fascism or to Stalinism or to Trotskyism or to Leninism or to Marxism or any of these failed ways to govern a country. That's why they're in the position they're in and we're in the position we're in. And they seek to break our position in the world. And they would like to break up Europe so that they can start taking pieces of it back and recreate the Soviet Union. That's it. Michael in Miami.
Happy Friday, love.
Happy Friday, you bastard.
I wanted to, just real quick, I know we don't have so much time. Listen, if this thing mushroomed, like walk with me here, I mean to the unthinkable, Randy, and we found out that Russia, just the impossible, they hacked it on a local level. Donald Trump is so arrogant. He's Colonel Jessup. He would literally look in the camera and say, "You goddamn right I did."
Yeah, yeah.
And the people that are denying us that anything's wrong, Randy, they would immediately switch and start defending that he did it.
Oh,
you
I
better
know.
believe they would.
I do
they
believe
would
that.
defend it.
I totally believe that. And that's why it's so sad that Obamacare is getting rid of mental health care. Yeah, because they're going to need it. They're going to totally need it. But the Trump care bill does away with rehab, and it does away with mental health care. So it's a shame. It's a crying shame.
They voted for the rhetoric, Randy. They voted for the rhetoric and not the policy.
Michael, they voted for the racism.
We know that.
You know.
Well, we know that.
I keep posting this on my page. Every time I get trolled on the YouTube page or on the Facebook page or on the Twitter feed, whatever it is, I keep saying, yes, we hate Trump. We hate Trump because Trump is a racist. But you hated Obama because you're a racist. And they are.
And the Putin connection is about white power, too, Randy.
Yes,
this
it
stuff
is.
all stems together.
Yes, it does. And don't ignore
Bannon,
it.
That's right. Steve Bannon, this whole
white
rise
nationalist,
That's right. This Nazism, this whole hang is about white power.
Yes, it is.
It really is.
Yeah. I don't know if it's about achieving white power, but I do know it's about appeasing white power people, appeasing them, coddling them, giving them permission to be racist, to tell them it's okay. Your country is being taken over by brown people. Christianity is being attacked. It's
what
ridiculous.
They do is they secure the socially insecure. Racism is social insecurity. It really is when you think about it. And what he did was secure those people socially.
Yeah.
The hierarchy of racism in this country for the poor whites, it's too much irony. For the poor whites, it's a type of social security. When they talk about of white privilege, it's social security. There are things that they never have to think about that I do, Randy. There's things that I have to consider on my daily trolling through South Florida.
I know.
I have to think about stuff.
I know you do. I know. I don't know if you have kids, but if you do, and you have
no.
Yeah, well, see, I have enough experience with the talk. I've heard it from mothers and fathers who have shared it with me. About how worried they are that their kids go, 15 years old and he goes to the mall, or 16 and he gets his driver's license. I mean, they're terrified. They're absolutely. And There's no reason in America in the 21st century that should be the case, but it is because of people like Donald Trump, because of this Republican conservatism.
Right.
Yeah, that permeates these people's brains with, you're being replaced. People are breeding, and it's crazy. Meanwhile,
and they never meet me, Randy. They never even see black people.
Because you're 11% of the population, and yet they fear everything about you.
They never even come across us, and I have to watch my energy. I'm in Boca now. Me and you, I guess we're destined to all be family. But I'm in Boca now, and I have to watch my energy, Randy. I can feel certain things.
I know. I get it. I understand. I know just what you're saying to me. I really do. But we all know. I love you too.
Babe. Love you, Howard.
Drive safe. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye, Michael. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Trump started with a racist appeal. It was birtherism. And anytime anything goes crappy for him, guess who he's going to blame? Barack Obama. And yes, we despise Trump because he's un-American. His thoughts are un-American. His goals are un-American. It's to just deconstruct democracy. Bannon has said he's a Leninist, and that's his goal, and he won't stop. He won't stop until we're deconstructed. So yes, we despise Trump because Trump is a racist. But you Trump supporters, remember, you despised Obama because you're a racist. But have a good weekend. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.